Well, how do you do out there, right? So it's been a couple weeks since I've read The Strange Adventures here by Tom King, and I had to give my, I had to absorb it. I had to absorb it, right? So for you guys that follow the live streams and everything, Josh, my friend, asked me to read this. This is actually his copy during a live stream, and I said I would do it. And strangely enough, I read it. I got COVID. I'm not saying that they went they're related, but it was quite the coincidence. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have pushed through to read this piece of garbage. Okay, so I'm not even trying. So I was like, okay, I made a promise to my friend. I'm going to review this. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to take this serious, and I'm going to go into this book with all biases to the side and really give this a chance. And apparently, um, I did what Tom King didn't, because I went into this book for what it was, gave it a chance, and Tom King didn't even give Adam Strange a chance. The whole point of this book, when you read it, is to just take a Silver Age character, a hero, who has been able, generations have liked this character. I'm not saying this character was out in the forefront, but this character came out in 1958. And the whole purpose of this character was Joyce Swartz, I believe it's who it was, who was running DC at the time, looked at two couple of creators and said, I need someone to make a character of the future. And that became a Space Ranger, I think, in a series of books. And we need one for now. And we ended up getting Adam Strange out of that. Adam Strange is highly influenced by John Carter of Mars. When John Carter goes from Earth, he goes to Mars, becomes the hero, and then there's like flashes of Flash Gordon, in my opinion, and Buck Rogers in there with his gear and his flight suit, his jetpack, if you will. If you like the Rocketeer, right here we have like Commander Cody and all that stuff, harkening back to those sort of things. So it's highly influential. It's definitely of the Silver Age. It's definitely the sci-fi of 1958. And this hardback, the collected edition of the 12 issues that I think came out in 2020 and 2021, I can't help but just laugh, feeling like I'm always, that's when we had our lockdown, people. This is when we had our lockdown. Not only did I read this and then come down with COVID, it was a weird coincidence. This also came down when we were having lockdown because of all that stuff, right? Isn't that amazing? Um, so I've read this book. The the writing, Tom King's writing, to me isn't really writing. It's free therapy at times. You can tell the science fiction writers in 1958 had a proper little. Oh, yeah, guys, check out the. I'm playing around with Go Live on YouTube here. Automatically went to the comments here to see if they would do like they do on StreamYard. They're not going to pop up. So make sure you're checking out the chat. Paulo Costa says you could tell the science fiction writers in 1958 had proper literary references. Exactly. So one of the things that I can't believe, and because I do not live in a bubble when it comes to comics. I have YouTube, I have my friends, I've still gone to conventions, been doing this decades. I couldn't believe there wasn't a bit more outrage, and that's fine. I think one of the reasons that this book didn't cause a huge amount of outrage is of the time we're in. I think a certain amount of people were waking up to what Tom King does. We have sirens going by because they're going to try to stop me from touching a Tom King book. Let this go by, guys. We're live. Anything can happen. And my cats are getting excited. So anyway, I grew up reading Adam Strange. This book, I still have the coverless copy. That was the stepdad, Gigantic Strange Adventures. Was this 231? This had the reprints. I grew up reading the stepdad and uncle's comics, and mixed in there were the reprint series. Probably a few actual originals. Who knows? I had to track this down with no cover. Thank goodness, a gorilla with wings is easy to remember. But that was probably the first Adam Strange book. To me, some of my favorite sci-fi DC stuff as a kid, of course, was reading the Atomic Knights and Adam Strange, and it was straightforward. Adam Strange, an archaeologist from Earth, gets hit with a Zeta beam, right, from a planet. Oh my God, not Alpha Centauri, but anyway, they actually used actual space mats at the time, right? And he was transported to this planet and fell in love with a girl. You know what I mean? And this Earthman, much like John Carter of Mars, ends up becoming the hero. And basically, it was the monster of the week kind of stuff. He was fighting these gigantic, fierce monsters, savage monsters on Ran and aliens at times and things, right? And that's exactly what his purpose was. So there are people who did grow up with this. Adam Strange had ties to the Justice League, and the Zeta beam would wear off, and he would end up going back to Earth, and you had to predict where the Zeta beam was. Now, if I remember my reading correctly, the Zeta beam actually took 4 years to get to Earth. That is how far the planet Ran is from Earth. Now, you got to remember that because that's a huge plot hole, in my opinion, of what Tom King has done, right? So we have a character who was the straightforward, and I'm not saying that made him less interesting. It's just that he is of the Silver Age. He is not of the 80s. He is not. There's no dark secrets here. It's pretty straightforward. Just because of the situation he's in, he has to be separated from his love. It's in a completely different galaxy. You know what I mean? So that's the tension in the catalyst of the story. The tension. It's pretty straightforward. John Carter of Mars mixed with Buck Rogers, being stuck on Earth, waiting to go be a hero somewhere else and to find his love. What he's waiting on, right? And that sort of they kept that going throughout the years. I mean, there's been a lot of love for Adam Strange at DC. They've given him miniseries. They put him in DC 52, the 52 DC 52. He kind of came back. He was in the 52 book that came out weekly, hanging out with Animal Man and stuff. He's been integrated. We had the Ran Thangarian War going on around the Infinite Crisis, but he really got a little bit of a push and resurgence, and a little bit of more story pushed with thanks to Alan Moore having Swamp Thing land on the planet Ran and using Adam Strange in a very comical yet respectful way with that Zeta beam and stuff. Used Adam Strange very well in that, and he actually mixed it up to where he brought in the fact that the planet Ran actually sent that Zeta beam out on purpose. Okay, because they'd reached a point where they were sterile as a race due to all the wars or nuclear radiation or something on the planet. And Alan Moore was in Adam Strange, being a man from Earth, and now he's fertile, made the name Adam mean a little bit more, as in first man. So yeah, he ended up having a daughter there as well. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The history is straightforward. There's nothing there really to mine that's going to be convulsive. They've tried to take darker takes on Adam Strange and they didn't stick. He's just not that kind of character. There are characters out there that could have been done, and that's what I think he needs to know. Paulo Costa, I never get tired of saying Tom King's the only person who managed to get you to pay for being his therapist. Exactly. And John Jones, what is this? A Tuesday stream? Yeah, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. And I have time to do it. And I'm experimenting, right? So let's get to the strange adventures, right? I actually took this serious and I took notes with what was going on as I read chapter to chapter. Tom King, first of all, let's excuse and take them out. Let's talk about the artists first, right? We need to save them. We need to separate them from Tom King, right? So you have the story being told in the present with a great war against the Pikes. I think that's how you pronounce it, Pykks, right? Pikes is an alien race that has just, it reminded me of Alien if they hadn't messed them up and made them Earth made. But anyway, but the Pikes were supposed to be this savage race that just goes through ruthlessly, taking over planet to planet to planet. and the planet Rand was able to get them away, to defeat them, make them leave Rand. So this book that I'm holding called Strange Adventures, Alana and Adam Strange come to Earth. He writes this book talking about that war on Rand, and he goes around and starts out he's doing book signings, right? So the two artists that really knocked it out of the park. There's a lot of good stuff in here, I think. We have Mitch Gerard, is that his name? And Evan, I'm reading this backwards. Evan Doc Evan Doc Shaner, right? So one writes the present on Earth, and the other draws it illustrates everything on Earth. The other one does it in the past on Rand, and they had some really great stuff in here, right? So the fact that they got stuck with this Tom King story that's going to be forgotten, I feel really bad for them because they really did some great storytelling in this. Even when we had floating head pages, yeah, things like that, expressive, you know. So the art was a huge saving grace to this. And of course, with it being Tom King, so we got the artist out of the way. They drew their heart out. There's some pretty good art in here, right? But we get a little bit meta here. This is what really gets me. I almost think that's Tom King sitting there having his book signed at a book signing by Adam Strange and people talking about his book. He's sort of a celebrity. He's a great author. They're hearing about adventures out there in space that's going on. And of course, there's got to be, I don't know. I feel like when I read Tom King's stuff, he tries to get a political war crime conspiracy going, right? He thinks this is Jake Ryan. He thinks this is 3 Days of the Condor. His stuff always feels very familiar, and if you know anything about that kind of genre, it becomes off cliche. So just to get through this, while he's doing one of those book signings, a nut job walks up to him, and I feel like I'm reading Powers at this point. I feel like Bendis already sort of did this, right? A little bit somewhere in Powers, but it could be my imagination. I've read a lot of comics. But while he's doing this, the Strange Adventure books, tells of their victory of the Pikes and everything like that. Then some nut job comes running up, and he's a radical. I got a feeling he finally read one book in college and thinks he's an expert. And he's like, yeah, I know what you did. You were horrible. And he's kind of yelling war crimes, right? Which makes no sense. And I'll explain why in a minute, right? That person ends up dead on another coast, I think, or somewhere a week later. And Adam Strange decides to ask Batman to go ahead and investigate this, get the Justice League in there, prove my innocence, because the news and people are saying that he's dead. So when you see the corpse for a spot, his head is blown off, and it was with an energy weapon, much like Adam Strange seems to be carrying around. So all of a sudden, Adam Strange is just a freaking idiot. Okay, so Batman reads Adam Strange's book, Strange Adventures, and wants Mr. Terrific to come in and you investigate. So Mr. Terrific does an investigation. Mr. Terrific is the third smartest man in the DC universe. He is far from acting like the third smartest man in the universe in this. Okay, so he's out of character. Adam Strange is out of character. And strangely enough, Alana, his wife, is on Earth, and she's playing girl boss politics and stuff with people. Um, yeah, it makes zero sense. She's never acted like this before. There's been times she was damsel in distress, and there's times where she was mother, and then there was times where like she was portrayed not to be an idiot. I don't think she's a character that's ever been, misportrayed, if you will, right? So they go from there with this investigation. So the book ends up showing Mr. Terrific. He reads it. He's insulted that Batman wanted him to investigate it. But after he read the book, he was like, his daughter's still alive. Because supposedly during this piked war on Rand, his daughter was killed. And they're like, his daughter's still alive. And this is where you're sort of like, okay, this is supposed to be the catalyst that starts the story, but there's already a lot of things going on, right? First of all, we're talking about an alien invasion on a planet in a whole different solar system, if not galaxy, right? So that's two different cultures, plus all the cultures that are on the alien planet of Ran and whatever the Pikes are, right? And we're acting like Earth laws, NATO laws, rules of war that exist only on Earth, uh, apply to a planet that it takes 4 years for light to get here if you go by the original things like that, right? So first of all, I'm sort of like, how does this make him a bad guy all of a sudden? How are we saying that he has war crimes going on when we're talking about completely alien ways of thinking and purposes, and those laws of Earth do not apply anywhere? So right there, Tom King is what you would call a fascist. Uh, in his own book by applying that. That's what that radical that came up to Tom King to Adam Strange at the book signing was saying, "You're scum, you're this, you're that," and everything. Those there are no laws that from Earth that apply to Rand. Okay, first of all, okay. So first of all, that's the huge plot hole. That's the big secret he was trying to keep. Is that what we find out is the aliens met him out in the desert. They're holding his daughter hostage, and he agreed to go set up Earth for them to take over um, and leave Rand the way it is. Makes absolutely no sense. This is supposed makes no sense. They're wanting it makes no sense at all. They're just going to stop fighting because you're going to hand us another planet called Earth. He doesn't really get into why Earth is a much more coveted jewel, if you will, than Rand. Doesn't even get into that. So there's all kinds of plot holes here, right? So if you read in a way that you want things to be logical, if you read in a way to where you're like, this next action happened because this happened over here. If you're expecting dominoes of logic to go through here, no, it's not there. That's what gets me. He tries to build up this tension. We see his adventures of going through hell during this war out in the desert and things like that. You never feel for him. And this is where I was beginning to read this in a way to where, like, I gave him a chance. Here we are in chapter 3, chapter 4. By the time we get to the 5th chapter, I'm like, he hates heroes. This is nothing but a character assassination on a pure hero of the Silver Age. All right. Now, when I say pure hero, we're not putting him on a pedestal. We're just saying that after, oh my God, 1958, we're well into, well, when this came, well, now, I mean, 60, we're into 62 years of Adam Strange for when this book came out. Okay. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like now, I've always said on this channel that there's three ways you can read a piece of work. You can, take the work for itself, and to me, this is garbage. And then you can think about what's going on in the world at the time. I'm not feeling there's anything here. Tom King, it has been revealed that he worked for the CIA. So part of me was like, was he lashing out at some CIA agent, with this? And he's going to get the joke, or he's going to be like, that guy's talking about me. Your heroes are really war criminals, right? And then it's what's going on with the author. And that's what kills me about reading Tom King. That's why I'm not going to read anything else ever again by Tom King. Because when you read anything by Tom King, you can't not feel that Tom King is front and center. He gets in his own way of his own works. You're reading a Tom King book. You feel like this guy is exercising some demons or something. Like he's gotten the reader, as Paolo said, and a lot of people have realized, he heroes in crisis and all this other Mr. Miracle, his Mr. Miracle 12-issue miniseries and stuff, right? Trying to keep it together, guy, because like he actually gives me a sick feeling. But he comes off as he's just nuts. He's got issues that needs to be addressed. That's how he comes off. You're reading this and you're like, you feel like this is about Tom King. This isn't about Adam Strange. This isn't any about those characters. They're not front and center. Okay. Um, oh my God. And like he's got to taint everything. Things dirty. So what happened with me? My interpretation of this when I read this is what's going on with the author that enhances the work. And He doesn't like heroes. He hates them because he ain't them. That's what it feels like. He really comes off to where you get an opinion of the author instead of having an opinion of the story. You know what I mean? The story does not stand out. So this book ended. All 12 issues apparently came out as of this recording, this live stream, 4 years ago, and it amazes me that nobody talks about it. Now, when I say talk about it, it doesn't seem to be anybody's favorite Tom King story. It doesn't seem to be anybody's great sci-fi story. It doesn't even seem to be a cool read. So, yeah, the fact that this was picked up and a friend got me to read it, I never would have like even bothered this. And this thing is exactly where it needs to be, forgotten and way out there. Okay, so basically, to move on with the story. We actually had Mr. Terrific taking a ship to Ran, and I let that one go. All right, I let that one go. Apparently now we have ships that can make it to Ran and without the Zeta beam, and they can be together. So you've taken away one of the unique aspects of Adam Strange. A lot of the things that made the character unique and made you feel for him, gave him that human thread in there that he can only get to Ran through those Zeta beams because it's so far away, even for ship travel, spaceships and things like that. They've taken that away. Now he's with Atlanta all the time, and now he's coming off like he apparently has the judgment of believing that the Pikes will keep their word, not attack Rand. They will take care of his daughter. He gets to see them every now and then. And then he sacrificed Earth all for his little girl and his love of Rand. So basically, this feels like Tom King is saying that he's a bit of a Benedict Arnold. I feel like that's the closest thing to some kind of symbolism or substance or subtext in his writing of that somebody pretty much is a traitor to their country or something, right? I'm like it's really stretching it, really stretching it. Then we have Mr. Terrific. In here, just so out of character. Now, what really gets me about this is somebody who has read quite a few comics, is that I was able to realize at some point, like, there's something here with this sort of plot that could be applied to other characters and just not Adam Strange. He took a Silver Age pure hero, of pulp roots, if you will. And there's other characters this could have been applied to. John Jones. Yeah, I've been reading the new Wonder Woman by Tom King, and it's making me dislike the character. That's what gets me. He doesn't add anything. He damages properties, and they're letting him do it. I read just a little bit of his Batman where they pulled the rug out from under the readers after they promised a Catwoman Batman wedding. Deconstructing heroes is kind of played out. Write something uplifting. He made a Mr. Miracle boring. How do you do that? That was Victor Shade. Great to see you. John Jones before that. And Paulo Costa again. The cliche of superhero comic writers, either deconstruct the hero, add to your personal take to the hero's origin. See, I don't feel like he does either one of that. This is just pure character assassination. This is Adam Strange. And by the end of this book, you're going to think he's a piece of shit. And there's no other purpose of this book. There's no other subtext to this book. There's no moral story to this book. There's no this isn't even man versus man. This isn't even nature versus machine. You know what I mean? Nature versus technology. There's nothing there. There's no elements of writing that's uplifting in this or even really artistic. That's why I separated it. Tried to make sure that I separated the artists that did the interiors from what's in here, right? So, like I said, this is look at this. This is his view of Adam Strange, and I think heroes in general, right? I mean, it's just horrible. There's no redeeming qualities of this writing, all right? So, how often, and I've said it before, John Jones, yeah, he was on Batman way too long. No idea how he got that gig. Well, if you go to my Instagram and you scroll down a little bit, I ran across a interview somewhere on the internet with Tom King, and he says that Paul Levitz gave him his first internship decades ago at DC because his mother was a CEO with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers owns DC Comics, and he's pretty much admitting that it's nepotism. So I don't know if his mother's still there. I don't know who his mother was, but I took a screenshot of that part of the interview and put it up there. So it's not hearsay. Uh, it's right there. I don't, that's what I mean. I feel like things get dangled sometimes and you can't help but like read into them, but that's what makes sense, right? Um, the man obviously never really, nobody is ever in character in these books. I don't even know if you go by his knowledge of these characters, the way he writes them, um, it comes off like he knows nothing about comics and these characters. And that's another thing that's been a problem in comics way before Tom King was having people come in that didn't know what they were writing about. Man, what is with this hat? Oh, okay. So the thing about this story though is that there's pieces that were you feel like were kind of salvageable. I feel like if you're into those conspiracy, war crime, political sort of stories and things like that, his stuff that way always feels kind of familiar. To me, it means it's cliche writing. I feel like I've heard this story, something like that. And that is one thing that kind of runs me a little bit raw is I feel like I can't put my finger on why this feels familiar. And it's from some movie I probably watched as a kid or something. That's why it's so familiar, right? I always go 3 Days of the Condor because I love that movie, and that's the exact genre I feel like he's trying to write. He's writing like 70s after Watergate governmental conspiracy stuff, and it's not well done. That's the problem. Not handled well at once. It's almost like he's a one trick pony with it. Yeah. So we get back to the characters, all right? And some people are going to laugh if you watch some of my streams. I've actually said this before, but I'm reading this, and one of the characters I can't stand in DC Comics, in comics in general, is Booster Gold. I cannot stand Booster Gold. That was probably one of the first videos I broke down and made why I hate Booster Gold due to 3 years of popular demand. Okay, so that video is up. Why I hate Booster Gold, and it went way too long. I could really anyway. We're not going to critique that video. It's 12 years old by now or something. Who knows? Anyway, but Booster Gold has the original origin to where something like this would work. All right. One of the reasons I don't like Booster Gold is that he's into heroics because he wants to be famous, right? And they always seem to insert this character. He's obnoxious. He's there's just not a lot of qualities there that make a hero. And I'm not talking about a Silver Age hero as an Adam Strange, right? But his whole point was to be famous and rich, celebrity part of it and things like that. And to get there, I think he got kicked out of college football for gambling. And then he gets a job at a museum and he ends up stealing a Legion flight ring, time bubble, the whole costume that he redesigns, everything he has to make him a hero. He steals it. And then he goes back in time. And as his origin is being told in the 80s, the Legion comes back to track him down. You find out all these things that he's doing. And he always makes the worst choices. He was used to ruin, in my opinion, Blue Beetle. As much as I love that Giffen era uh, Justice League, and people love the blue and the gold team up. Then they had Rip Hunter be his dad, and one of the characters I absolutely love. They actually had him cross over a little bit with Commandy, and I can go on and on. Oh yeah, and where's that other book? And one more thing I want to show about Adam Strange. Excuse me, cat. But anyway, the crossover thing made me remember it, and hopefully I haven't misplaced it. Yeah, here we go. Right. But we'll get to that in a minute here. Now that I have it in my hand. But Booster Gold, this is the kind of story where I could see this actually being applied to Booster Gold and Tom King having something to say there. This would work. The origins of this guy is not to be hero. And they've done a few storylines here. I think Jeff Johns did it, the 52 weekly thing. There's a few places here and there where they actually tried to make Booster Gold a hero, but nobody would know it. I'm just like, no, he sucks, right? But to let you know how Adam Strange is of his era, I absolutely loved this Future Quest slash Johnny Quest crossover with Adam Strange. Don't go out and pay more than $1 for it, though. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, so much. So what I find ironic here, as I'm talking to you guys, yeah, John Jones, Victor Shade, Booster Gold is the worst. We are in agreement. All right, my people. Paulo Costa, get ready for Howler Mouse's tribute comic to Tom King, Schneiden, starring Booster Gold. You guys really need to look at the comments on this one. John Jones, not sure if you read DC All in One Shot that came out last year. Nah, it's a whole other thing, right? But stay on track here a little bit. But anyway, but so basically, what ended up going on is I felt meta with this book, right? Um, like I said, I found it very ironic that I go into this like clean slate for Tom King. Go in, let's see what he's done here. Let's look at the merits, take it for what it is, and immediately plot holes just spread out to me and stuff. And he earned my disdain for this writing on this book. The ironic part is that, as I said at the beginning of this video, is that I feel like he went into this with pure intentions of character assassination on Adam Strange and never gave him a chance to really go back and read some of these wonderful little simple stories about a man fighting monsters on a planet, on an alien planet, getting to be John Carter of Mars. You know what I mean? To me, this would be the same thing as someone coming in there, just to give you a little perspective where I've read this stuff, as somebody coming in and completely shitting on Doc Savage. Okay. That would have got people's attention. Now, how loud those people would be, I don't know, but it would have got their attention. But like I said, it gets kind of meta. You read a Tom King book, you end up not being lost in the story. You don't feel like you're immersed in the story. Somehow, Tom King uh, himself, with what he's doing here, with what he's saying about heroes and about these characters and stuff, is front and center. It's just the oddest thing. And I've asked around to make sure it just wasn't me. There's other people who are like, when I read a Tom King book, I feel like I'm reading a Tom King book. So that's about the only unique thing about a Tom King book. His Rorschach, I could not finish. Oh my God, that was unreadable. And then, as I said in the previous stream, for just to put it all in one place and to get it out and together, not to repeat myself, I have one or two friends who do like Tom King. They do like his work, not everything he's done, but they do find they're able to read it, and I just do not understand. And they're really the only two. I know there's some others out there. There has to be, but yeah, I just don't understand how someone like this gets to have all of the human target. People seem to like the human target. Yeah. But anyway, by Tom King, I don't know. But anyway, but how it is, even though I talked about that interview and the screenshot that I took where he talked about his mom being the CEO. We don't know if that has any credence, but he's implying it does in that interview, in my opinion. But anyway, but yeah, how he gets to pick and choose and things. But if you notice, a lot of his work stands alone because it just comes off like he knows nothing about these heroes. This isn't a fresh take. It's not even a reboot. It's not even a reinterpretation or a deconstruction and stuff. I read Supergirl World of Tomorrow #1 because it's being adapted into a movie, and I'm just like, what is this shit? Again, great artist doing some great work, and then just this. It's not even melancholy. It's just freaking. It just leaves you with this icky feeling that feels like it's a layer above some kind of weird depression. You know what I mean? Like just a big black cloud is following you around. Yeah. John Jones. Okay. Shame. You could have seen Booster Gold get lost in another universe without Skeets. Hey, I'm up for any kind of torture porn you want to do with Booster Gold. You know what I mean? I still remember when Doomsday was going after Superman. The Justice League jumped in there, and I thought we got rid of Booster Gold. I was like, this is it. Doomsday killed Booster Gold. and he comes back in an even worse outfit. Like, you just die, Booster, die. Yeah, die. All right, guys, I can go on, but I am legitimately getting a sick feeling. I've talked about Tom King's work enough. It actually gives me like a icky, sour stomach kind of weird thing. Um, I actually am proud of how I have handled myself with this. I figured I could come on here and be a little bit more of a character, a little bit more animated, entertaining, and act like I could be a comic book version of Angry Video Game Nerd, if you remember him, but that's already been done by Atop the Fourth Wall of Comics or whatever his name is. So I was like, nah, that's just cliche and it's dumb also. So I was like, just get it out there, be straightforward. And act like you're an adult on this. Act like you're an adult, and I think that was really my goal with this. So this book, I've read some stinkers here lately. I read a few really bad pieces of work here, and we're going to be doing some palate cleansing, reading a few books and stuff like that. So anyway, just thumb it up. Let people know that this was decent. Um, Make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell. I'm going to be playing with the Go Live. It seems to be the way to go now. Now that I've played around with it and we're not sideways like in my first attempt for the first 5 minutes. Thanks for everybody that's popped in here, guys. Really appreciate you guys popping in here. Appreciate all the comments. And make sure when you subscribe, hit that bell so you know when I'm going to do this, because we're going to have a little bit more going on, a little bit more, even if it's just 15 and 30-minute little live shows and stuff, right? This is so much simpler than making videos and uploading them and things like that. So thanks, you guys. Thanks, A Pilgrim. Thank you for watching. John Jones, Paolo, my brother, Victor Shade. Great to see everybody here. Who else was here? We're about to end this. And yeah, save your money, man. Just save your money. Don't even read this crap out of curiosity, okay? Get some, you know, take your money and see if they've got some Silver Age reprints of like, DC um, Silver Age sci-fi from the 50s and 60s, man. It is what it is. Everybody be excellent to each other. Read your comics, man. And yeah, man, y'all have a good evening.